Hello, everybody. My name is Stefan Choi, and welcome to the show. This is Trading with Livevol. This is where I trade my real Reg T account, and I use LVX to trade, and you guys can see how I do. So let's go to today's results. So basically, I'm pretty flat. Most of my gains is in this MNKD. I can talk to you about all these other trades, but it's kind of boring. Basically, just to be straightforward, I did a horrible job trading today, right? So you guys can see right here. Sometimes you have those days, and today's one of them. For some reason, I didn't have the patience, and usually it kind of gets me. So like pretty much every trade I did was at the wrong time. So I sold at the bottom, bought at the top, everything you can possibly imagine, that's what I did. But you know, going into it doesn't really make any difference. I'll just stick to kind of the positions I have and the stuff that I can like actually talk about, right? So this one is MNKD. So if you guys know what I was trying to do in MNKD, and I'll show you my position. So I bought these July 10 calls, right? So I bought these calls, and my whole plan was to sell every week, like other calls against it, and hopefully just pay for these calls. My thinking was that I could probably generate, if nothing changed, about $15,000. So I would be risking 15, which would be these right here. So these can go to zero, right? So I would be risking 15K roughly, or 16K, and I can make about 15K from selling premium until the PDUFA date on the 15th, and then I might not even have to have any. Might not even have to keep it, right? So that was kind of my original thinking. I was reading a ton about it. I have a lot more to read today because there is more news that came out, but I just didn't have time to read it. So I think there was like some transcript that came out from the Goldman Sachs conference yesterday where the stock kind of took a little beating. I guess because people were hoping that MNKD was going to say, or the CEO, that you know, that they already have a partnership lined up, or there might be possible a buyout candidate. But I guess the only thing he said was that he will have a partnership between 6 and 8 weeks after the approval, if they get approved. And I guess one of the analysts upgraded the stock to $16. But anyway, I think there's still risk of this stock maybe going back to $9 range, so I am concerned about that. But so far, I'm kind of sticking with my guns and trying to do this strategy. Now, I need to sell another 110 calls somehow, right? Buy these back and sell these Junes, and I don't know exactly how to go about doing it, right? So I'm still working on it. I'll have to do it by like end of today or by Monday the latest, right? So you see how this is still kind of trading in this range. Oh, it looks like I got filled on some of these. Hold on one sec. Oh yeah, so I got filled for 2 cents on these calls. So I'm actually, let me see if I'm working anything else. 68. Let's cancel that. I'm going to try to buy 58 of these back. For 2 cents. Right, so if once I start closing, I can start selling these others. So the ones, so I have right now, if you look at it, I have 90 and I have 110 long, so I can sell 20 of them right now, right? So I'm actually going to start putting in some offers. So I was thinking about it, and I would like to sell some of these 9.5s. So for 95 cents. All right, so that's one. I also would like to sell some of these. Don't have anything there. So sorry for if I'm like quiet, because I'm actually trying to figure out what to trade. So I'm gonna sell these. But eventually, as you guys can see, I'm gonna try to spread it out. Now the reason I'm selling the 9.5s, which might sound like doesn't make sense because you're like, hey, you own the 10s. But if you look at the 9.5s, there's still premium in those, right? So what I'm doing by doing these is just in case Mankind does go lower, the fact that this is like the 9.5 allows me to get 97 cents, and it'll offset these that go down. So it's just a heavier delta. And if it gets bought out, it doesn't matter, right? Because there's still 30 cents worth of premium in this. Not that it's going to get bought out. So if I get filled, I'll be lucky. Looks like somebody's actually offering at 55. So most likely I'm not going to get filled right now, but I'll be working on that for the rest of the day, trying to do it. And yeah, my basic strategy is in Mankind is I think it's going to go around here for the next 5 weeks, right? And then I think leading up to it, I think it'll move higher, maybe $12 to $13 range. And then at that point, I'll decide whether I want to, like, what kind of play I want to do. But this play is all designed to try to get premium data for the 5 weeks leading up to the PDUFA date. So hopefully it'll work out. I think there's a decent chance it will, and you know, you can make a lot of, you know, you can make a pretty good return if the stock just remains calm around here for the whole time being. Now, one thing I want to talk about is it seems like there's like two general consensus, and when I say general, I mean just the majority versus minority, right? So if you have an opposing viewpoint, don't think of it as like this is what everyone is thinking. I'm just saying this is what looks like most people are thinking. So most people, I think, believe that they're going to get approval for Afrezza, right? So they think they're going to get approval, and let's say if they don't get the approval, the stock goes to like 3, and if they get the approval, it goes to 15 or something. The fact that it's trading around $10 makes it like, you know, maybe 60-40 that they're going to get approval, right? There also is another consensus, and this is the one that I wanted to talk to you guys about. There's also another consensus that this stock will sell off after this announcement, even if it's positive, right? So it's almost like everyone who's writing articles from like Seeking Alpha to Motley Fool to anybody who actually knows about these stocks, they're really, really bearish even after they get the approval for the PDUFA date, which makes sense because the company's worth $1 billion and they're really not making any money, and they only have 1 quarter worth of cash left. So to me, like, anytime there's like such a consensus on what's going to happen to the stock, I almost feel like there is a chance that Mankind could really go high, right? because everyone seems to think, like, nobody's actually written an article that says, hey, they're going to get the PDUFA date, and when they do, it's going to be $20, right? There's not a single person that I've read so far that's writing something like that. I mean, I see people on the message boards, but that really doesn't count. But in terms of like writing an article, whether it's street.com or Seeking Alpha or any of the other numerous publications, they all seem to think that it's the first step to a hurdle, and that it is actually a selling opportunity if mankind actually gets that pop. So I think in the end, I'm just going to keep an eye on it to see how bearish people are, even if mankind does get the approval. But it could be something where it could be a surprise, and the stock could go much higher than people think. If everyone thinks that they want to sell the stock as soon as it opens, that means everyone is preparing to sell it before they get the announcement, right? So we'll see what happens. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to try to read a lot about mankind over the weekend, and I'll try to report to you guys. But overall, that's my position, and my strategy, like I said, is to sell, just so you guys know. So like, let's say it's 110, right? So let's say I sold 110 of these. Let's say the June 10.5s, right? For like 30 cents on the bid right now, right? So that's $3,300 in premium that I would be getting next week, right? $3,300. If you divide the 3,300 into 5 days, that's about $600 worth of, slightly over $650 worth of premium that I will be receiving each day, and all I have to do is have this not go down too far, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing. Now, I'm not sure if I should do the 10s or the 10.5s, and the reason I'm saying that is because I think there is a chance that mankind could go to $9.50, $9 range, right? Or it can just kind of bounce back and just hang out in the $10 range. So I think the upside is kind of like around the $10.50, and the downside is right now like $9 for next week. And to me, if it's 9, it's going to make tough for me to sell premium against these July 10 calls, right? Because they're going to have lost some value. But in the end, these aren't like the normal kind of options. They really won't decay because they're an event. There's an event to this option premium. So it's an all or none. So this decay in the Julys is going to be much less than these others. So these others are going to be real decays versus this, where it's going to be supported until the announcement is released, the results of the PDUFA. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that this volatility and this option price is not going to decay because they are looking for an event, and all these are going to decay because they're not tied to the PDUFA announcement, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I look at the stats, and it's, I mean, it's usual to have more calls than puts, but it's not necessarily always bullish. So yeah, but nothing so unusual in the option side. So that's kind of what I'm doing now in mankind, and I'll probably talk to you guys a ton, especially if it as it gets closer, and if I'm actually making money and things are going well, because then every position is something that I can, it's worth talking about. There is also a small chance that if I do sell it for 30 cents, so if you look at the date, 27th of June, the 4th of July, and then 11th of July. So there's 4 weeks, right? So if, let's say theoretically, the stock stays right here, and I sell the options for 30 cents, every let's say every let's say I sell for 30 cents every week, 4 weeks in a row, that would make it $1.20. Okay, so I just bought the rest on these, right? So I bought the rest on these, so I don't have to worry about them. So I have like 60 of these that I can sell. So I can actually start selling them, right? So let's say I'll sell 30 of these. Okay, so what was I looking at? So what I think is going to happen is I think there's like some seller at $20, but it seems like there's also buyers right here. So when it gets to 20 might be the optimum time to sell these calls. So I'm actually going to wait and then sell them when the time comes. So there's 32. So I can sell up to 68. So there's 32, right? I have 110. What is that? That's 68, 78. I can sell up to 78 of these calls now that I bought them back, right? So how about I'll just start. Sell 10 at 35. And sell 10 at 55. So I'm just going to put that in there, see how it goes, and then I'll go from there. And basically, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to sell. Obviously, if I sell it for 35, you guys can see why I'm actually kind of trying to play with it, right? So 35 times 110 times is 3,800, right? Versus 3,000, right? Or actually 35 times 110, right? Yeah, 3,850 versus 110 times 3, right? Which is 3,300. So there's like a $500 difference for every nickel I get in terms of premium, and that's a $100 difference a day. So it's a pretty substantial amount where I can get these off. Of course, if I thought it was going to go up on Monday, I can maybe wait on them until Monday morning to sell, but I'll see how it goes. Usually over the weekend, these takeover stocks have like a little run up in them. So, you know, I'll start selling them. But that's my strategy, right? The other one is Hillshire. Basically, all I'm trying to do is close this position, right? I'm trying to buy this back and sell this, and it's not as successful. I have it in every day, and I'm going to try to close it as best as possible. The other position I have that's of interest is, so this utilities did really well for me because basically I was short, and maybe I should put this in. And we just went straight down, right? So now it looks like yesterday it started doing this, so I started buying my calls back, right? So now if you look at it, I'm not as bearish. I'm actually like bullish, right? So I think it's gonna go up, and I want to figure out how to sell more premium against it. But this is kind of like how I'm gonna start doing it. So that's about it. XLU, I think I'm gonna keep it. It's pretty good. So the more I understand it, I think what I'm gonna do is basically the theory is I buy these calls, the 38 calls, and then I just sell everything around it, right? Because if the market does go down, basically people pour into utilities, so they might be the last stock to really go take a beating. And then if the market goes up, if you look at 2013 when I showed you guys, basically it just kind of stays exactly where it's at, right? So the market, if you look at it as the market was rallying the whole second half of 2013, basically all XLU did was kind of wedge into this pattern, and I'm thinking maybe it'll just do that again if the market goes up, and if there is a strong sell-off, this will be the last one to get hit, right? So by selling a lot of premium, I feel like there's a good kind of like the situation that we're in right now. It kind of caps the upside and the downside of XLU because it's a safety stock, and that's kind of what people are thinking. So I'm gonna pile in on the calls. I did only a one lot, but I think as time goes, I might actually increase this position. The only thing is it just takes up a lot of margin, so I have to think about exactly how to take care of everything. Oh, I just wanted to talk to you guys ATML. It's a chip stock, and for whatever reason, people are like loading up on these calls, the August 10th. I thought it was interesting, especially since Micron got that upgrade and then Intel got that news. But it was interesting. So, you know, normally if I had like more time and more cash available, I would probably play this as well, but I just don't have time or the cash, so I'll probably sit on the sidelines. But it's an interesting thing to take a look at. Also, TLT. I actually didn't write it, so I'll put it in. But TLT, basically, I'm playing this the contrarian to the TLT. So basically, every time I think, you know, when it's too high, I'm gonna sell the calls, and when it's low, I'm gonna sell the puts. That's kind of what I'm doing now. So right here, I was thinking like maybe it has a short intermediate bottom. So basically what I did was I was selling put spread in TLT. So as you can see, they expire next week. So all this is so my my trading, basically that my theta becomes positive, right? So today is not a good indication because basically all the data from Mankind went away. I have a lot of these other positions where I have the calls, and this is how I get to offset it by taking my shots, but I need to somehow collect, so I don't have to I don't have the decay, right? So that's kind of what I'm working on now. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Take care.